that response can obtain, and the notion that we can solve all that by having to go and say, we want relief from the 7 days, we want relief from the 10 pages, we want relief from the restrictions on emails back and forth, we want relief from restrictions on things that weren't covered. That's unworkable, and we're entitled to have something that we can rely on because the record is so critical, and it's important going forward, because if he's able to do that on that issue, just saying, I'm going to decide that short essays are better than a test. I mean, that's clearly an educational policy, not constitutional thing. He can do it as, his fingers are in the budget, in boundary lines, in closures of schools, everything else. That is something that should be made by TUSD, and they get deference on, and not on the basis of a special master back east who's an expert on desegregation, but not an expert on running TUSD.
You know, what to me is bothersome about listening to this argument and this appeal is, as you said, this started before you were in high school. I would think you'd be wanting to work to a solution. The whole argument seems to be about building an appeal at the time you finally get through with this. Then you want the right record, then you want the right things, and then you're going to start litigating after it's all done. Isn't it something where you can hope that you're getting to something that you're going to support and accept and have a solution to this instead of a whole new lawsuit about why it's all wrong?
Absolutely. And here's why this appeal is important, because in order for people to negotiate things, there has to be some sense that that everyone knows what the rules are, and what, if the worst thing happens, we have to litigate, what's the outcome, what due process do you have, what resort to the court do you have, and unless you can go to the district court, get them involved, and get them to make the decision, it makes the negotiations tough. You know, the parties have been working together.
You picked the special master. It was your recommendation, the school boards. It ought to be when he gets through with these reports, that ought to be the end of the case. You ought to both be accepting, even the things you don't like.
Well, and the parties have been working together. The bigger problem is what the special master does unilaterally and without review, and that's what we're really complaining about.
Right, but you have the right to object, and I know you say it's burdensome, but let's take your specific objections. You say that they made the special master made a finding that's not supported by the record. Well, you can say that and just say, ask for leave to file some more documents. Now, I realize that's burdensome, but you know, we have briefing rules, and people ask us to file longer briefs from time to time. We grant some, we deny some. If you're concerned about making a record, you have to make a record. We can't solve this by micromanaging the procedure.
Well, I think that and that's a problem, frankly, in deciding whether to take this appeal, but two things were happening simultaneously, because TUSD's world blew up in December of last year when they had all these rules that were just, to my mind, unfathomable as someone who's been practicing law for 35 years. But the non-receptiveness of the district court to give us hearings, to allow us briefing, cuts us off at the knees on our rights to object that everyone had stipulated to, combined with the other expansive efforts by the special master to now he's really an advocate. He's become the education czar, not the desegregation expert, helping to consult with us together collectively to get unitary status, but someone who's an open advocate. He has a lawyer. He got a lawyer. I mean, things have been, it's really insane. And the problem is, and the reason why we took this appeal is because it affects not only the record, but the ongoing operations of the school district for the foreseeable future, and impacts 50,000 students. To kind of finish the loop about this starting with me in high school, my twin 13-year-old daughters just took the University High admissions test. So, I mean, these things are impacting people on a daily basis. That's why we want the procedure there so that we can get review.
How many real problems do you have? I think counsel said there were 3. University High, what are the other 2?
Well, I'm not in a position to answer that question because I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but the USP has a bunch of different plans covering everything.
And the parties stipulated to those.
And the parties stipulated to them, and a lot of those, the parties agreed to some of them, and some of them we have disputes. and some of them we haven't dealt with yet, and some of them change on an ongoing basis because, some involved with school closures, and we may not have that till next
Right,
year.
but I'm just getting to the point where you said the special master has his fingers in all kinds of things. This was the plan the parties agreed to going in, right? And this is the special master that the district nominated.
I'm not sure. I wasn't involved in it, so I don't know who nominated him, but ultimately I think the
Well,
parties.
the briefing tells us that. It's
With
not.
I think the Mendoza plaintiffs were the only objectors to
That's
his
right.
hiring. But what has happened is he's stepped beyond his bounds.
Well, that goes
And-
to the point that I made a minute ago, and I don't mean to prolong this and keep you at the podium, Pat. You probably want lunch, but at some point. But the game plan in the USP was worked out by the parties.
Right, and we have no objection to the USP. We have no objection to the appointment order, but we want those procedures followed, and that's what's not being followed. And what it has done is, what we've seen is the district court remove himself from this litigation and the special master move in and expand and use a standard that is not the standard that he's supposed to use. He's supposed to talk about compliance with the USP, desegregation, those sorts of things. That's what he's an expert at. He's not supposed to quibble with us whether we have red or green uniforms for our soccer team. That's outside of his bailiwick. Thank you.
Before you leave, though, I think at the end of the day, our jurisdiction depends on whether or not the injunction order is modified. It has been modified or not.
Correct. And if the question is how was it modified,
Well, I understand your argument, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's the central issue for us on jurisdiction. You'd agree with that? As to the jurisdiction.
as to the jurisdiction of the appeal, I think the mandamus
Yeah.
argument is also very strong. But yes, and then I think that the question of, it's all been briefed. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, all of you. And at least a long argument. Hope we don't see you again.
My girls will be out of high school.
If I didn't say it, the case just heard is under submission.